Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tales from the Forlorn Dopes. I'm your host, Cybersmily, with my other host.
I am Wisdom. Greetings, programs.
And today I think we got a real special guest, James Hutt.
James Hutt. Yes,
T.
sir.
Hutt. Appreciate you coming on and joining us for our little conversations.
Hello. Good to be on, guys. I'm excited for this.
Awesome. So, let's get started. First off, we're going to do a little questionnaire, and like I said before the show, it's a little bit of a kind of a quick type of rapid fire type of question. So, so first question.
Before we do that, just to bring everybody up to speed, Mr. Hutt is the creative game designer for Artalsorian Games. Most of you will know that already.
I figured he didn't need an introduction. He was so famous.
You know,
I can do the little introduction bit, guys. If you don't want to.
By all means, do your introductions.
Okay, so I'm the senior game designer at Artalsorian Games. Some of my work is the main thing that I do is most of the sort of systems design for Cyberpunk Red, but I also help Cody Pondsmith on the Witcher ttrpg. That's what I do there. I just recently, actually, I'm starting this new thing at jameshuttgames.com where I'm making indie games, and I have a newsletter that I'd love you to join.
Excellent.
And there will be free stuff in the future through that newsletter.
Awesome.
Great.
And I would love to have you there. Anyway, that's me.
Welcome to the show,
and
man.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get into that, I think, a little bit better, because I have a couple of questions or things I want to find out a little bit more about that project of yours. So, anyways, so these are quick questions with short answers. There are no wrong answers, but there is one right answer in this list. So we'll start it off. 2020, 2045, or 2077.
I love 2045.
Right.
It's the one I've mixed my labor with the most.
Okay. Favorite.
We all love our babies.
Favorite Cyberpunk role.
I like the media role.
Okay.
I think it's got the most narrative implications, and I love Transmetropolitan comics.
It's my favorite book of all time. So yeah,
that's my favorite comic book too.
Like it's my favorite book. Period. Like comic, novel, whatever. Like.
Oh, I'm not sure I can give it that, but that answered that question. I hope that's not on the list.
Nope,
that would be very hard to go. I think we got to move on to the next.
Yes, we got to move on. Quick questions, quick answers. Favorite piece of cyberware.
I think it has to be subdermal armor.
Okay. Favorite cyberpunk weapon.
That's hard. I think the microwaver is the most quintessential cyberpunk weapon because it's a punk's answer to the problem of a over-cybered corp assassin coming to kill him.
Okay.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Favorite Cyberpunk Red or 2020 book?
Well, my favorite 2020 book is Night City, and my favorite Cyberpunk Red book is the new Black Chrome.
Excellent. Awesome. Least favorite Cyberpunk Red or 2020 book?
Well, that's rough, man.
As I said, there's no wrong answer.
I was not the biggest fan. Nope, not answering that. Move on.
Putting the needles to you.
All right, Pan Am, Judy, or Rogue?
Pan Am, Judy, or Rogue? I will say the answer is Meredith Stout.
There you go.
Excellent.
Lucy, Rebecca, or Kiwi?
The answer is Rebecca.
Okay. Carrie, River, or Goro?
I actually have not replayed as any of those plot lines, so I cannot choose any of them.
Okay. David,
I'm saving that for my next playthrough.
there you go. David, Maine, or Pilar?
I think Maine is the coolest design in the three of them.
Okay. I agree with you.
Favorite Night City gang?
Ooh, that's hard. I vacillate between the Philharmonic Vampires and the Piranhas. I'm excited to do some cool stuff with the Piranhas in about a month.
Yep, and I think we're going to.
I'm excited to hear that. Yeah.
Favorite mega corporation?
That would be the 2020 era. My answer is Biotechnica. In the 2045 era, my answer is Continental Brands, because that was my baby.
Okay. Favorite Cyberpunk movie?
Akira.
Solid choice.
Yep. Favorite Cyberpunk fictional character?
The Major.
Matoko
From
Kusanagi.
Ghost in the Shell.
Okay. Gibson, Dix, or Stevenson?
That would be a Gibson.
Okay. Favorite Cyberpunk novel?
That's hard. That's a hard question. I'm not sure of the answer to that one off the top of my head. Sorry.
All right. No worries.
That's understandable.
And the final question is Shadowrun Cyberpunk?
It's part of the genre. Is a Hawaiian Mexican fusion restaurant, Mexican or Hawaiian? It's fusion.
You know,
You can fuse together elements and still be a part of the canon.
That's a pretty solid
genre.
It's a solid answer, but I was preferring a yes or no on that one. But that's the
he always
only one
prefers yes or no.
Well, that's
and
the
no
one
one ever gives it to him.
because that's the question where someone might say yes, they're wrong, and if they say no, they're right. That's the only question that you can get wrong.
Look, man. My wife, who is a Shadowrun tattoo, I can't be too mean.
So that's the quick questionnaire we trying to ask all our interviews, and now we can move on to chatting with you, man.
Get down to the meat.
I'm glad we got the. I should have answered interlinked to one of those. I really wanted to.
Exactly. So, congratulations on your two most recent supplements, Black Chrome and Interface 2.
Thank you.
So, Black Chrome has been in a while in the making. Can you give any details on the creation process for it, or the struggles you guys were facing to get it done?
So, yeah. So the reason why it took so long is it's the first one, and we were figuring out how we wanted to do a Chromebook, because we knew we couldn't do it exactly like it was done in 2020. Because the Chromebook is a artifact of the setting, you know? And we wanted to make sure that this one was as meaningful to this setting as the 2020 ones were for 2020. Yeah, so we had to figure it out as like an app, and then there's all these cool ideas we had, and at the end of the day, it just takes a long time to make something of quality. Also, there's roughly 3 times more art in this book than you'll find in the standard tabletop role-playing game book, so the art took 3 times as long.
Right.
That makes sense. I know that Mike.
What other item books have art for every item?
Not many.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a reason for
been
that.
the inspiration behind Datafortress 2020 since the beginning. Is if I introduce a piece of tech, I'm gonna include an image for it because that's just part of the mystique and or part of the draw for me.
Absolutely.
I know. Mike originally announced that he was working on the next Chromebook way back in like 2013, 2014 on the CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk forums, way back in the day, before Red had ever been announced. I think it was originally supposed to be a 2020 supplement. How much of that material was written for 2020 that later had to be like completely redone for Red?
There was a fair amount of conversion and reconversion during the design process, but there's also a fair amount of new stuff that was made for this. And that's a very complex, a very long answer that gets into some weeds and nitty-gritty stuff that I do not think will be interesting to your listeners. The answer is evolution. Evolution requires doing the same thing, doing it again, and then doing it again, and doing it again, and then until you're happy.
I don't know about the listeners, but sometime after the show, I may hit you up for that story just because that does interest me.
Evolution is a tough thing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
you brought back.
Go ahead.
You brought back the exotics in Interface 2. That was a nice surprise. Is there any plans to bring in full conversions? Or is that
we have not announced the pack-in article for Interface 3, but know that the Interface pack-in articles, the brand new stuff we put in each interface to maybe convince people to buy it, even if they've already read it free on the internet. Those we want to make sure are always fan favorite content. We've not announced the next one. I cannot do it here. I apologize.
No worries. Yeah, I mean,
nudge, nudge.
For me and Derek, who are completionists, anything you guys put out, we are going to try to acquire in some form or another. But yeah, it was nice to see the full conversions, and it looked like you pretty much nailed each one and bringing it into
the exotics, you mean, right?
Yeah,
the exotics.
The exotics.
Okay.
I would have liked to have seen a picture for all of the exotics, but I understand that free downloads don't always necessarily get a lot of money towards art.
Yeah, luckily, I think we put in a couple of them. Yeah, I would have liked to see more of. I'm gonna be honest. I would have liked to see more of the ones we didn't get to show as art, and or hoping maybe to sneak them into some other illustrations in the future, right? So that they don't go question mark forever. But I don't think it was in the budget. And you're right, Interface has is a more ground level operation than a big Chromebook is.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean they're all compilations of the weekly updates. So
they're so give you just an overview because I know that not everybody knows what our Interface products are. Every month there's a free DLC on our website that's totally playable and totally canon. In fact, if you don't read them, you miss lore stuff. So that when it happens in big books, it's like if you haven't seen the Marvel TV series, and then you go to the Marvel movie and you're like, who's this guy? So you gotta get them, you gotta read them. And we compile them all and sort of remaster them, and we put professional editing on them, and we fix the problems that people found in the monthly update.
Yep.
The free monthly update. And then we put in a full another one that's always a fan favorite one in the back that's never before seen, just so there's new content in the book as well.
I mean, I love the monthly updates. They're always interesting. They're always fun. And like you said, they always throw a bit of lore that you aren't going to get anywhere else.
Yeah, they're kind of like a zine.
Yes, definitely. And you know, you are one of the few companies out there that does something like this, if not the only ones, in which you're putting game content out.
Wow. We know we need to as an operation that does not involve a dungeon or a dragon. We have to keep fans excited, and if you're a Cyberpunk Red fan, every month there's something fun for you to do, which I think is the coolest part about being a Cyberpunk.
Yep, and it keeps it relevant.
You also do the same thing for the Witcher line.
Yes, we try. I'm not part of that crowd in terms of like the people who do the monthly stuff for The Witcher.
Okay.
But I have read some of the monthly Witcher updates, and they are cool, and they are super cool. And I imagine they are the same thing. I can't speak to stuff that I don't dip my toes in all the time.
As cool as the content for the interfaces and the monthly updates are, I tell you what, one of my favorite things about it is that it throws back to the old interface fanzine by Chris Hockabout and Thaddeus House. And it's just really cool to see that homage to.
I was, of course, a big fan of that stuff, and I got my start in tabletop role-playing games writing zines myself. So, to me, it was a natural, hey, I want to keep doing that, but I want to do it as a part of a content strategy you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I very much appreciate it.
In a more
keeping some traditions alive.
Importantly, I wanted to do it in a more canon way than is done at D&D with Mystic Arcanium. What is it? Unearthed Arcana? I think it's Unearthed Arcana.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Because there it's like it's the I'm not throwing shade, but they use it as a play testing avenue. And the cool part about the Cyberpunk one is it is play tested. So that means that it's stuff that you can feel confident putting in your game that won't break the balance or anything, and it is mostly designed by core design staff at RTG.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
Yeah, and that's the one great part of it, is that it's RTG approved, right? Versus, and that was the thing. Like even when I was gaming, even with the notorious Dungeons and Dragons, you had a lot of third-party people who would put stuff out, and when you're as a gamer and you start going into different groups, each DM and each table is going to be different, right? But most tables would take core stuff, right? Oh, if it's printed by TSR or Wizards, yes, that can come to my table. Any third-party crap, yeah, no. So it's always nice to have the main company produce it versus, and not to say that, third-party stuff is good.
No.
It's just more acceptable,
That's where I come from too. I come from that. That is my swamp. I came from that swamp.
Right.
I know what it looks like. It's a good swamp. I was very happy there. Apparently I'm a frog now in this. Yikes!
It's not easy being green, buddy.
No, it isn't.
So I just want to get back to interface 2 with the exotics. So now that you've done the exotics, are you going to be doing full conversions for the next in the coming
I
years?
very cutely didn't answer that question about 10 minutes ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, but I can't.
Say.
We're not going to do it eventually. It's just I cannot announce when we are.
Right.
It's a yes in the future.
Okay.
I would never not eventually put cool robots in a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm a man that loves cool robots.
and I know
that.
like back in the day when full conversions, even when Maximum Metal came out, it became a game changer towards the whole game, right?
Maximum Metal is something we are power creep is a very real force, and I am a barrier against it.
You're the
And
black
I
wall.
will continue to be a barrier against it. More like a really big moat.
Right. Okay. So I've also noticed with the DLCs, you've had people in the community start to contribute. Is that going to be a continuing trend in which you take more community stuff and work with those creators and actually develop into a download, or is this kind of like once in a while type of thing?
I think it might be a once in a while type of thing going forward. Maybe a once in a year thing, maybe a twice a year thing. But we like it's going to be a case by case basis each time it happens. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it seems like you guys are like, as opposed to the 2020 line where eventually you guys had like a couple of dozen writers working for you and all that. It seems like you're keeping things much more close knit and in house. Does that make editing easier?
Well, we also edit out of house, so I will say that the difference there is, well, I don't know if I agree with you on that. In core design, yeah, we're trying to keep it locked down. But Tales of the Red had tons of collaborators.
True.
And Danger Gal Dossier is going to have tons of collaborators too. I would say that we're trying very hard to keep this to maintain just a very nicely manicured garden in terms of design. And but for adventure content, world lore content, we're excited to we're excited to work with people, and I mean, eventually I would love to bring on design people too.
That's awesome.
We're working toward it, but and then there's you guys are way closer to the things, so I typically cut off the ends there, but also the environment on creating these books is totally different now.
Yeah,
than it was when 2020 came out. There's more. It's just it's like that. A lot of reasons for that, but I mean, we hope we're just trying to make the best game possible. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. And within
not that goes in the not that is a force against this or anything.
No worries
at all.
So we just had a question in the stream. Basically, I'm gonna boil it down to what Vampire Bites is asking is what's the lifespan of interface? Is it going to be just an annual, or do you think you're going to keep it up as it were? I think we're doing a pretty good job keeping it up, and the key is we remain close to the ground, and it's worked on in what is it? It does not work on interface. I would say we're going to keep it up. I think lifespan wise, this is going to happen for the duration of the edition, which I hope will be many more years.
I mean, I like to hear that.
Certainly, we want a long edition. Something that's going to be a big, meaty, long, well-loved thing, and we're getting my point is that people like this enough that we're able to support and create more of it, and that's freaking awesome.
I mean, I love the interface.
I'm not the business guy. But
I love the
we know that
format.
the community supports it.
I like that. When they come out, it's like getting an anthology book where it's just there's a little bit of stuff for everybody. You got content, you got fluff, you got new gear. I love the interface books.
Yep. And for me, it's all centralized, right? As opposed to the 12 different downloads I have that I have to search through each one to figure out which one was I looking for in the game table.
We didn't even think that would be a thing when we started doing it. Like, people would be like, there's too much, I can't handle it. But that's great. That's a great problem to have.
Yeah, it is.
I just love books on my shelf. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I love physical products.
Have you gotten the Interface 2 print on demand yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I haven't been able to. Like I said, I haven't been able to pick up even the physical copies of Chrome Black or Interface 2 yet.
You'll get around.
They're on my list, but yeah.
Start a swear jar. You'll get there.
That's basically what I've done. Yeah, I've got the PDFs, but physical copies will be on my shelf soon.
Cool. Anyway, where were we?
I think we were going to ask you, with all the work you've done, what would you say is your most proud piece of work that you've created for Cyberpunk Red?
Ooh, that's hard. I guess I am very happy with the I'm very happy with the Black Chrome. It's just the most recent one I put out, I know, but I'm very happy with Black Chrome. I'm very happy with how Elf Lines turned out. That was really cool.
I got to say, that was very interesting to see how meta that pop, just from a system, because I actually ran a scenario back in the 90s at cons in which we had that kind of, I had like a multiplayer game in which the players were part of it, so they had to play D&D characters, and then they would have to hack the system to figure out how one of their friends died. So it was entertaining to see that type of mentality. But yeah, it was very interesting to see how you put a game inside a game.
Yeah, I have a lot of repressed video game stuff to work out. So I'm very happy that it came through. I would guess those are the two big ones for me. I'm looking forward to that changing in the future when more stuff is out. But and I guess the net running system. Okay, and the real answer is I'm very happy with the new net running system. I got to work on that. I was the guy that pulled it up from 2020.
I think popular opinion would back you up on that. Of all the changes made for the rules mechanically between 2020 and Red, I think the update to the net running system is like it's on point. Like, I don't know anybody who isn't thrilled about that.
I guess that's the big answer, and the other ones are the accessory answers.
So I had,
and then maybe
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my curiosity, right, when I saw it in Red was, did you take inspiration from 2013 system? Or was it just something out of the blue that you thought of?
Well, it's a couple of things. One, it was the stated goal of the system is to make it easier to run and make it not, let's go get pizza. We wanted it to have more crunch. So it's designed to have more crunch than a very roll this number, okay, you did a hack thing. and it's meant to provide a subsystem, not like an alternate system, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes, I mean, after the Cyberpunk 2020 net running, yeah, the not being an alternate system makes perfect sense.
It needed to work with the same dice core and use the same stuff and interact with luck, interestingly. And all we had to do was delink it from a stat, and the door opened wide.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I love about the game compared to 2020 was the improvements there. So, to follow up with the what are you most proud of, here's the most difficult question, which is what do you regret the most on anything you've worked on, if you have any regrets?
I would say that I'm very happy to live without major regrets in my life in general. And that, in terms of things that I would change, there are things that I would change. There are rules that are often misunderstood in the core rulebook. That's not too bad. It's that, I mean, I don't know, man. I fixed the one that was really big for me was the incredibly sort of not fun auto fire in the jumpstart kit. We totally fixed that in the core rulebook. I'm very glad we caught that, because if we didn't catch that, then this game would be much weaker. I would... Are there regrets? I do not think the language skill hit properly. And having languages be a skill is sort of something we may look at in the future. I think those would be the big ones. And then, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so moving on to kind of a bit of a different topic, which is future products. And I know there's certain... You can't give full answers to some of the questions I think we have, but any thoughts around this? You know, understand we're not going to hold you to to the coals for any of this, but so.
Oh no, it's all good.
And we don't expect details necessarily, just
right. So Danger Gal.
I'll see what I can do.
Danger Gal dossier is on the horizon. Can you give us a little more about that? I know. On some other interviews you've talked about how it's going to kind of flesh out some of the gangs within Night City. And
Indeed.
And just a quick follow-up was, and I didn't know if it was going to be kind of a complimentary or an update of what like Edgerunner Incorporated did for like 2020.
I will say it's not styled after Edgerunners Incorporated. Let me give you the general. So this is our big NPC book, and it's supposed to be a dossier that the company Danger Gal has. They're private detectives, and it's a dossier that they have on different groups in Night City. So it stands in for a. It's got a lot of people from a lot of the gangs in it. They each have a backstory and some stats. We're talking about all your favorites. I won't get into specifics because I want these answers to be quick and digestible. But this is if you want to have bespoke, created NPCs for your cyberpunk world, this is a great place to get them and get them all in one place. And it also, any GM reading this will, I hope, have tons and tons of ideas for campaigns by the time they get to the back cover. So
That's
this
awesome.
those two are the main things that I
So-
wanted on the book. And I will say that most of it is being done by awesome outside writers who will get their vision in and all this awesome stuff. And I am more of making sure all the numbers fit out on it. So I don't really have a lot to say on that one other than that.
It sounds like it's going to be like a cyberpunk version of like the Marvel Handbook or DC's Who's Who. And I can't tell you how much that excites me.
Yes. I sort of understand what you're talking about. I believe that to be accurate.
Excellent. Yeah, because I have read those things so many times. It's just an idea factor, and yeah, that's sounds like what this is going to be. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So speaking of Danger Gal dossier, and last year, when you guys announced it, you also mentioned a product called Rogue Street Weapons, and I understand, projects happen, things get pushed around, and things. Is Rogue Street Weapons still on the docket, or is it still
This is
kind of being pushed off?
This is one I cannot talk about.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh well.
No.
Just not being able to talk about it is exciting enough as it is.
That is a dangerous answer. I don't think you should take anything away from that answer.
Yeah, well, too late. On that note, the one I'm waiting for, most looking forward to, Rusted Chrome, the Nomad Settlement. What can you tell us anything about that?
I will say that that we are very excited to make another Chrome. We're gonna do another Chrome. Everybody knows we're gonna do another Chrome. This is just me saying it, and that's gonna be, it's gonna be great. I will say I can't tell you anything more than that.
Okay, because the Chrome aspect of it is cool. The Nomad aspect is where my gears really start going.
I can't answer that question.
Okay, I get you.
I will get in trouble.
All right, well, we don't want that.
I want to answer that question, but I cannot answer that question.
All right.
We don't want Mike mad at you, and we don't want Mike mad at us. So I'll just let that drop.
Oh, it's not Mike I worry about. It's Jay.
Makes sense.
Oh,
He'd
that
get
makes
me.
sense as well.
We'll work ourselves up the chain. We'll dig until we find this. So there's been a lot of conversation or conversions in homebrew dedicated towards 2077. Artel Sorian made the announcement of a supplement that's coming up. Any progress reports on that?
Yes, that I worked on this morning.
Hooray!
So it's in development. More than that is I'm super. I would say keep homebrewing, folk. Keep it up. I will have something to say on most everything people want. It's going to include in it. Okay, I'm not actually sure what I can talk about. Fuck.
Jay suddenly appeared behind him.
No. It's going to be great, guys. The things that you want is going to be in there. Damn, that's a really unsatisfying answer.
No, I mean honestly, as long as you confirm that it's something that's still happening and still moving forward.
This is the answer that I typically give for this project at this stage. It is, we want it to be a book a product that is as equally for fans of the anime as it is for fans of Cyberpunk Red. There. That is
See?
the answer. That gives
That's-
more detail that I can give.
That's a perfect answer. I mean, so far up till this point, like there hasn't been much visual or like I'm not gonna say I don't want to say visual, but there hasn't been much obvious collaboration since the release of 2077 and the release of Red. It's been very separate products.
I would say that collaboration happens behind the scenes a lot more than people see, and we work with our business. We're making something in their past, and they're making something in our future. We got to work together, and we do so famously.
Yeah, and I think that's
fantastic.
One of the questions we had, which was we weren't sure if there was like a NDA or any agreement.
Oh yes, there is.
Well, I'm sure there is.
Of those.
Yeah.
But you know, what is the interaction between the two companies, especially when it comes to Red products? And I think
I would say the interaction is awesome and fantastic, and we're very lucky. Look, a licensee and a licensor can have a troubled relationship. It is possible. We are very lucky to not have that.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I hear stories from people who write comic books and whatnot. No, yeah. We have it good.
Speaking of comic books, 2077 has had a lot of like comic book support from Dark Horse. Are we ever going to see any comics for Red or 2020?
I can't answer that. I don't know, man.
Okay.
We haven't announced anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that was like even like on the possibility radar.
I would say that I do not have hands on the possibility radar.
Okay.
Okay.
And this next question, you know, again, you might not be able to answer, but you can kind of give a quick, vague answer. So, right, so 2020 had a lot of splat books around roles. It also had regional books. Is that something that, you know, your team is looking into and possibly generating? Or is it still kind of like farther on the back burner, right? Still in prep, as it were, with the sous chefs, as it were.
I will say that we are very excited to talk more about the Cyberpunk world in 2045 in future products. There will be world content in the future.
Excellent.
We're not gonna not do world content. You know what I mean? Like that's a big part of the Cyberpunk, like Big C Cyberpunk world.
Yeah, I mean those are always my favorite
these
books.
cool world books. Yeah. And they're some of my favorite books from 2020. So it's happening. Nothing is announced. But it would be a sad day if we never did that, and we're not looking to have sad days.
Agreed. I mean, we don't mean to be throwing stuff.
No. These are the real questions that people want to ask. Just know that I give you the answers that I can give you.
Okay.
I mean, I've been there. I've had these questions about my own things I'm nerdy about.
So one question from the viewers right now is, so would we happen to see any new games for the Sego Otari Rush Revolution?
More Segotari games? Yeah, they're coming. I probably think that I couldn't help myself. They will occur eventually. I will say upcoming DLC is related to game playing. There will be a playable subgame, another playable subgame. It may not be a digital game, but it will definitely be fun. And that is my tease for that.
So on that note, you guys put out the Netrunner card deck.
Yes,
which is
we're very glad we got that out because it's great for visual learners like myself.
it kind of reminded me of using the Netrunner card game as the nut running rules and and the mini game that provided. Is there going to be anything more like that coming out?
More like the Netrunner card deck?
Well, just like prop wise, like the Netrunner card deck, like yeah.
Well, I would say we don't have anything announced right now in that arena. We were very happy that people are using the Netrunner cards in their intended way, whether we want to make them spell cards, right? And have them so that you remember what your programs do. Or you want to lay them out as a net architecture, that's cool too. I would say the door is not closed to that type of thing in the future, but I don't have anything else.
Yeah,
Okay.
That was
Well,
a
cool.
fan-based product, right? That was someone who came up with the cards.
Oh, yeah.
You guys
Oh my gosh.
saw it and
So good.
loved it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we love keeping an eye on what the community is doing.
I mean, as
Seeing what we can bring forward.
as both of us being long-term, fan sites and all that. Anytime we see a fan-created material get picked up and by the big leagues, as it were, it just thrills us to no end.
I'm very enthused that you would refer to this as the big leagues.
I mean, for us, you guys are. That's as big as it gets.
I feel like that every day when I wake up. I think it's time to go to the big leagues.
So how did you originally get involved with Artelsorian?
The answer to that is I was shopping around a board game that I was looking, going around and showing people things that I had made and doing the general, like, I'm trying to be a professional artist, and the only way to do that is to make art and show it to people. And I was going around, and I met a man who's our current editor, Aaron Tarbuck, and I was trying to sell him a board game that I had made because he ran a comic book store at the time. He's a fantastic, by the way, industry luminary. The comic book shop, which is kind of like, he's like, I'm just going to run a comic book shop. I love comic books. I'm going to run a comic book shop. He was the marketing director for Wizards of the Coast for many years before that, by the way. He has a magic card. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, so I was selling him a board game that I had made, and I got to meet Mike, and we got to talking, and they were spinning up the operation, as it were, from hibernation, and everything sort of worked out, and I got a job. That was good, because I really needed that at the time. Because I was, an indie video game guy at that time who was also trying to do board games and TRPG stuff, and honestly just wanted to make games in any medium I could get my hands on.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to be the common story.
Yes,
it's happenstance, right? But it's only happenstance when you tell it from this perspective. Back then, people were yelling at me and telling them to get out of their comic book shop, and I won't buy your dumb board game. And no. It just goes to say that I was beating every door bloody for maybe 4 years until one opened.
Before you went to work with Artelsorian, did you have any experience with Cyberpunk 2020?
Yes. I used to read them, and actually, I used to read Mech too. Back in college, I only ever got to like make characters and play on it awkwardly with myself. Have a little like, oh, I'm gonna do a little shooting thing where these guys are gonna come in this side, and it's just me playing with dolls. No disrespect to V3.
I mean, that was my experience.
In my room, I still have some of my original 2020 things that I made in college, including a guy with a pirate tattoo and a winch arm that looks like a claw.
Nice.
So I may sprinkle in my 2020 OCs as old men here and there in the future.
I mean, if you given the opportunity, why wouldn't you?
Right, fair. They're probably 70 now, right? They're not going to age as gracefully as Johnny Silverhand.
I mean, who does?
Or Rogue. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she aged very gracefully.
Yeah.
Well, even all the Arasakas.
I have no idea. I have no idea why Sabro looks that bad. You know.
Well, I don't know why he.
All the 2020.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't look worse.
Yeah, right.
Like, literally, he should be like oxygen tubes coming out of every pore, and
right. He should be the Emperor of Mankind.
Yeah.
From 40K. Never mind.
Yeah. So
like
what Derek was saying, we've interviewed like oh my God, Ben Wright.
We've interviewed Benjamin, Ross, Wynn. And it just seems like everybody
kind of like
meets Mike, and he just kind of takes him under his wing.
Yeah, Mike is a really good eye for people that can get shit done. He likes people that can get shit done because they get shit done because he likes to get shit done.
Yep.
It's that simple. And he's I mean, I remember I met him, and then I was like, oh, can I email you some questions I have about the industry, right? Like maybe I could get him to be my mentor, right? And then immediately I go, or I could spend the next 2 weeks creating a board game completely on spec and then surprise him with it when I next met him. And that's what got me the job.
That's awesome. That's like I said, you're living the dream, man.
Yeah. It was a fun 2 weeks, but it was worth it. It was a Gundam board game because I knew he liked mechs.
He definitely likes his mechs.
And I was like, so remember the last time? Well, I wanted to make this just to show you what I could do, and it worked well. It's actually a pretty good board game. I hope we get to use it in the future for something.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Well, our Cal owns the game design, so who knows?
So, have you played in any of Maximo Mike's games or campaigns with him?
I have. I've jammed with him at some of them as a sort of a. He calls it as a cabbage, which is of course his term for guy who knows rules that I can't look up right now while I'm making wild, awesome strokes of acting.
That may be the most Mike anecdote I've ever heard.
I guess that's when you grow up when like I guess when you're like when Traveler is a part of you as much as Traveler is a part of Mike, you get to the thing where you're like, okay, the rules are this document that must be interfaced with, right? And if I can have somebody else interfacing with the document, then I can be free to do this. Look, I love Traveler, but man, that's some rough stuff.
That's some rules right there.
Yeah. So I think that idea was like the golden hack for playing games when Mike was in college, and I think nowadays it works just as well. But maybe that's the. It was very fun. I remember it. I think he killed some people with an electrified third rail of a subway system, and then ate somebody with a rat.
Yeah, I've been
a giant rat.
That might be the most Mike Pondsmith thing I've ever heard.
I've been in a few games with him at cons. The first game I was in, I knew. Well, I was the only one who knew the game system and been a fan for him because he started coming to a con close to me. And this was back in 2013, and he started running a game, and he kind of got frustrated at the end because he didn't kill any of us. Because I was like, no, don't do that, you stupid player. You're going to get yourself killed. Don't pull out your gun now.
Oh, man.
No prisoners.
I remember I've killed a player I've killed players in cons. And for me, it just feels awful. I don't know. I don't get it, man. Like I had to sub in for the Mike Pondsmith show. Mike Pondsmith kills your character once, and I killed a guy, and he was like, "Oh man," I'm like, "You got hit by a train, my dude."
Well, so well, it all depends, right, on how you die within the con game, right? If it's within the first 5 minutes, and I've had that happen to me at con games, that's
no. That's not. This was out an hour and a half in. There were multiple rolls to reach a thing in time, and it was not reached in time.
Well, that
you can't get if you can't get to the little alcove in the subway.
Yeah.
Then you do get hit by the subway train.
Well, in my opinion, once I got past 21,
the Otis rule.
I didn't care too much about whether my character got killed in a con game because I can start drinking now. You guys still have to play.
The Otis rule. What's that?
The original Richard Donner Superman, Lex Luthor had a sidekick named Otis, and he's in the subway, and he's got to get up against the wall when the train comes, and the guy following him tries to do the same thing, and it doesn't work out for him.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You're a comic book guy, I can tell.
That's been said.
You have no idea.
I can tell already.
That in anime.
From our interactions. I'm an anime. I'm an anime gentleman myself.
You want a historian, man? Talk to Wisdom here. He's by far.
I sometimes live up to that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Rayman and him should compete for knowledge when it comes to crazy lore and just little bits and pieces. But yeah. Anyways, get back on track. So as a game designer, what do you feel is the part of the process that you really love doing when it comes to game design?
Oh man, there are so many parts of the So I guess in my process, the ideation part is just totally ongoing. And I have a bunch of initial designs that I batch. So if I have a cool idea, I will write a brief on that cool idea, and then I will compile that brief away. So because people always think it's like, oh, I'm going to sit down and then I'm going to have an idea. That's not how it works. It's like I'm always having those. They need to be managed properly. And then you select from those initial idea sheets. I'm selecting them, which ones to bulk out into just sliced experiences. You're like, okay, I'm just going to make sure this is fun in this little slice, because you can spend a lot of time making something that isn't fun that way if you do not do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You can have ideas. Sounds cool. Sounds really cool. Cool enough to maybe bulk up, and then you spend a lot of time bulking it up, and then you realize, oh no, this isn't fun. So it's all about getting to your best ideas and picking winners in that stage. And then after you have a vertical slice, it's all about how much can I play test this.
Yeah,
and
I
that is so for me. Those are the three stages of design. And of course, it's like video games. If you see a finished product, it was a miracle. It is a miracle that any game ever gets made. You know what I mean? It's a miracle that any book ever is finished. There is a. That's why. Okay, think about it this way. Think in your head, what is the fastest way to show that a character is evil that does not involve kicking an animal? It's to show them burning a book. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's
a villainous trait, and if that
pretty insidious.
The fact that we think that that's evil implies that we think that the completion of a creative work is inherently good. Anyway,
Yeah.
So it's a miracle anything gets done ever. You know what I mean? If a game is finished, it's probably has something in it that's fun.
Right.
And it's always a labor of love. Like anytime anything creative is done, there is so much love and dedication behind it. Even if it's a corporate product, even if it's like done by committee, somebody out there is spending love and blood and sweat and tears to create this.
Right. You can be playing a game and have it be just a corporate melange, awful. It's no one's favorite game. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you'll see a tree, and that tree is very interestingly placed, and the tree is very well done, and the tree is arcing toward the sun in a weird way, and that tree may be copy and pasted 400 other times in the game, but that one time where it was placed properly, it is artistic and meaningful.
Right.
But it's that's the type of ways you got to find art in late stage capitalism sometimes.
Yep.
Sure. I mean, even the worst movie you can think of, I can still find something to appreciate about it.
There you go.
Yep.
And,
Highlander 2.
I mean, Highlander 2 is a crap Highlander movie, but it's a pretty decent cyberpunk movie.
Yeah, I gotta
it's also
rewatch
a pretty decent movie in general. Think about all the movies you never even hear about.
I have seen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I watched Highlander 2 in the theaters, and this I think might have been before your time there, James, or you were still a toddler at the time. But walking out of that movie, was one of those things that I was just like, I can never go back and rewatch that thing because that was just awful.
I mean, I was there opening night, and it was one of the most disappointing experiences of my life. But at the same time, like, the setting that it took place in was fantastic. It was awesome.
Maybe I need to rewatch it.
Just to give you two just a crash course in how old you may be right now. Do you guys remember a movie called The Mummy?
Yes.
The original The Mummy.
Yeah.
Not the remake with Tom Cruise that was made for Chinese.
I'm assuming you're not talking about the original with Boris Karloff. I'm assuming you're talking about the Brendan Fraser version.
Yes, I'm talking about the Brendan Fraser version.
Okay.
So you're not talking about the original one. We're talking about the Brendan.
No. I'm talking about
the remake, the first remake.
I'm talking about the first remake, the one that has the one that people would remember.
Right.
Yeah.
The amount of people that go the Boris Karloff version are not. That is not the majority opinion.
No.
Okay, so that came out. My dad took me to see it. He took me out of elementary school to see that movie. It's R-rated, and he got me in. I have like reoccurring nightmares still from Beetles Crawling Under the Skin because I was that young when I saw that movie. So I don't know how old that makes you feel, but this is just a reminder.
That makes me feel pretty old. I gotta say,
because
was it rated R?
Indeed, it was, or it was. You're not supposed to have a kid in elementary school.
It was probably
See that movie,
PG-13.
I guarantee you.
I was gonna say I don't remember any nudity or any cuss words or any like ultra violence. I don't know.
Are we supposed to show elementary students scarabs crawling under people's skin?
I mean,
are we
no,
supposed
but
to do that?
Just like Star Wars was G-rated and it like full on burning corpses.
Well, so
or Raiders of the Lost Ark with the face melting Nazis.
It's
so.
a whole difference between millennials and Gen X's like you and me, Derek. So
yeah, I think so.
I was six years old or 7 years old, and for whatever reason, my mom thought, "Hey, let's go watch Jaws." I have such a fucking fear of going into the ocean. Yes, I mean,
that's not
7 years
call.
old, and there was nudity in there, and there was a lot more swearing than the Mummy. Yeah,
that's fair.
That was an interesting time.
Each their own. Each their own childhood trauma, I say.
Yeah. So the other thing is, when we were growing up, we had at least in the Northeast here, we had this thing on called Creature Double Feature, and every Saturday there would be two-hour movies that was on this one station, and it was like the black and white movies. So for me, the Mummy is like, oh yeah, Boris Karloff, the Wolfman, that's Lon Chaney, man. I'm
Bela Lugosi's Dracula.
Yeah. So I'm like
Yeah.
very old school when it comes to those movies, but yeah. So getting back to
it's
this.
weird, but
Go ahead.
because
should we get back to the interview or whatever? The Cyberpunk.
sorry, we tend to rant.
Yeah. So
No, it's cool.
this is
You're
where
talking about movies. I wanted to join in.
Yeah, by all means, man. But yeah, you make us feel old.
a little bit.
So speaking of your gaming design process, so we talked about what you love. What do you hate about it?
Oh, that thing I just said. The part where you don't do that right.
Right.
The middle stage of that process, and then you put a shitload of work into something that ends up being a creative failure. Failure is great in that you learn from failure, but it still fucking sucks. It not sucking.
Yep.
No, nothing about how much you learn from a failure can make it not suck.
Right.
It's just necessary suck.
And what is it like Mike likes
anyway.
to say is learn to kill your baby?
No,
Or
that's not real.
well, he said something similar to that.
Kill your darlings.
Yeah, kill your darlings.
Kill your darlings is for people with day jobs.
Well, I remember there's a seminar he did, and I forget what school he was doing at, where he was talking about his IP and how you work with your IP, and he was very understand that no matter how much you love your IP, there's going to come a day when you might think, okay, I need to basically throw it all away and come up with or pick bits and pieces out of it that you really feel that are
get some
worth
pieces
it.
out of it.
Yeah.
Salvage. So I understand that. I understand where he's coming from on that. That when people sometimes say "kill your darlings," it can make young writers think that they are not allowed to like their job.
Yeah, and that's
where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's
you're right.
a misinterpretation
Look,
of
when
that.
I fail,
vaguely...
the key is when you fail, you recognize it, you learn from it, and then if you can salvage anything from it, you can do that.
Yep.
There are parts of Cyberpunk that are failed prototypes of other games that never got made, that I had worked on years earlier, that I was able to bring in. You know what I mean? Everything matters. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
You
and
scavenge those bones.
yeah. Bone scavenging is a real thing.
And I think I remember the Mike saying something like that. I think it was in reference to, V3 and its relationship to 2020 and Red. I could be wrong about that, but like I had these vague, like that's my vague recollection of when he said that.
V3 is dope, man. It's a cool experiment. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, somebody wants to make a cool experiment, and that's dope.
I mean, it was a very interesting idea.
It was. I think that it was before its time. On a lot of things.
I mean,
the character creation in V3, where you tell this narrative and you make your characters as you tell the narrative. Dude, he did Blades in the Dark way before Blades in the Dark. That's years ahead of its time. There's if you're a fan of Cyberpunk and you're interested in how it got edition change and all this stuff, looking at V3 is a wacky trip.
I've said it before, and I think the only problem with V3 is that he tried to tie it into Cyberpunk. If it had been its own product, I think it had done really well.
Yeah, no, V3 is fun. I said it.
Like, it's a neat world. It just doesn't really fit with what came before it.
Well, I think some of the community has various opinions on that, but yeah,
sure.
Looking at it as a different product, and not looking at it through the eyes of a 2020 sequel, definitely you can look at it as kind of a good product.
Like, there's great stuff in there.
Yeah. It's good.
Well,
I don't know. I like it.
He came up with smartphones, or he predicted smartphones with that
Yep.
supplement, so it's not all bad. Moving along.
I like the Genius guns. I'm a big fan of Genius guns.
Yeah.
I think Genius guns are going to be real in the next 30 years.
They might possibly be. I mean, we didn't even think AI was
Have you seen the auto targeting? Have you seen the stuff of people like zip lining and then just like holding out a gun and blind firing it and hitting targets?
I have not seen those videos.
That is a computer-assisted aim device, and the U.S. military is making them right now.
I've seen the guy who does it with archery. He configured his bow to do it, and like basically he's just taking the bow and just pulling it back, and like it just always shoots a bullseye.
Yeah, I think it's the future of warfare when those get put on drones.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing.
Yep. Anyway, I think ultimately they'll always have a human holding some of them, but it'll just be because it's cheaper to kill us than to make another robot.
Yeah. So our next question actually goes back or references to your intro, and that is jameshuttgames.com. And currently you have a newsletter. Can you give us a little more? Is it like you're delving into tabletop role-playing games, board games, computer games? What can we expect from
so
what all does this entail?
James Hutt Games is just me wanting to make indie games again. I want to make something shorter form, under 120 pages books, and I want to get them out in a sustainable way. I do not want to at about a rate of a once a year type thing. I write all the time. I don't just write when I'm at work. I write maybe 6 or 7 hours a day, every day. That's a lot, and you end up writing something eventually that maybe you want to show someone. And I should have started a newsletter to tell people about stuff that I wanted to release that way about 2 years ago, and I didn't. So this is why I'm kind of pushing it now. It's because I have something that I want to show everyone about near the end of this year. So if you're a fan of Cyberpunk, you're probably a fan of my game design. If you aren't, I think you may be confused as to why you're here. I'm pretty sure the people here are fans. If you're this far into a stream about this with this title.
We sure hope so.
Yeah, we sure hope so. Or if not, we're happy to have you here. Hang out. But I'm gonna. I don't like social media, and I want to have a direct channel for people who are my fans to receive info about stuff that I want to make. And so please join up. In the future, I will have a much stronger incentive for joining. But if you join now, you get to be cool and early, and get to, you get to. I know. I'll know.
Do the FOMO, man.
Do the FOMO.
And dude, I totally agree with you on the whole social media. I mean, to me, Twitter and Facebook are cesspools that really should be avoided by all humanity. But I know.
Yeah, I just want a newsletter that goes out to people that are already fans, so that I can generate hype and give them news about new stuff, and even maybe talk to them about how production is going.
Yep.
On indie stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of difficult for creators nowadays. I mean, compared to like when me and Derek first started off, right? The internet was still a little its infancy, right? This was before even Google really hit the scene. So, anyone who would do a search term on like Cyberpunk, you would see hundreds of fan sites. You would see our historian stuff. Nowadays, it's especially with the computer game nowadays, is the computer game has kind of sucked up a lot of it. But you just see a lot more ads, a lot more business filtering to the top. So when it comes to like really fans, at least back in the day, whether it's fanzines, the old sites that we used to run, or just getting a very targeted kind of underground way in which the community used to communicate, is very hard nowadays, especially on the internet, because you get lost tremendously with the algorithms.
So I guess I talked a lot about how I want to do it, not a lot about what I want to do. Right. I do have stuff for that. I want to make some games that use really, really new stuff in them. Stuff that's not D&D compatible, stuff that's going to have its own unique dice mechanics in it, and really stuff you've never seen before. Stuff that's suitable for an enthusiast audience. And yeah. So I'm currently recruiting the top 50 people to join my elite vanguard.
Well, I just got someone who signed up for it, so on our tab.
Good. Perfect. Everybody tell that person because they're officially cool now. Anyway, cool. Thank you.
Again,
thank you, person.
Cool.
From James Hutt, anyone who signs up is technically cool, so.
Yeah, you can tell your friends that you signed up. That would also actually really help. And you could tell them they too could be cool. Anyway, but I will probably be sending out the first newsletter in that. I have it blocked for after the John. After I do a John show, I'm gonna spend about 2 hours writing a nice letter to everybody in the newsletter. So that would be sort of the time to get the first one coming out, probably in a week and a half, and it's going to be a monthly thing. So it's not going to overflow your box or whatever. I will try to sell you something at some point, but I won't try to sell you other things.
Well, I mean, I don't want to be not cool, so I made sure to go ahead and sign up because I want to be part of that.
I appreciate y'all. Yeah, it's currently just like John and all the.
Well, hopefully,
it's just a bunch of Cyberpunk people right now.
Yeah, well, hopefully,
I mean,
our
from
small
the
community will be able to pass along. I mean, we're not big.
Smiley
but,
and I are from the days when the whole of the Cyberpunk community online was like a very small, very close-knit group.
Yes.
And I think we carry that tradition in our heads to this day. So regardless of how giant and monolithic that company has become, or that community has become, where people are coming in from the video games and the anime and the comics and the tabletop role-playing games all into this great big battlefield of competing ideologies, we still like to think of it as a small, close-knit family.
It feels very warm, and one thing I'm super happy with the I'm done shilling my own thing. I'm now talking about how cool Cyberpunk fandom is. Come on, is it not like one of the most warm, comforting? You know, there is of course people saying, "Hey, man, I." Usually, it's people. I've noticed this is super healthy. When I'm on the Reddit, when somebody's like, "Hey, I had a session that didn't go well," a lot of times it's, "Hey, I had a session that didn't go well. Can anyone help?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just a vent. It's like, "Hey guys, can you help?" And
I mean,
and that is like a massive green flag. Just letting y'all know. There are other communities are not like that. Y'all are great.
I mean, the community as a whole is we're pretty welcoming towards others. We're definitely here, like, as a community, like we're very welcoming and happy to give advice. There's nothing more in the world we love than to talk about this thing that we love so very much.
Yep.
I think part of what makes that happen is that because it's like, it's kind of harder to learn Cyberpunk sometimes. Everybody realizes that at some point somebody else had to ask the question. They had a question to ask, and somebody else helped them. So it's just a lot of paying it forward, is what I see.
Yeah,
and that's really cool.
I mean, it's not a game for like beginners to jump in. Typically, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. But in general, go ahead.
You know, I say if you've played Dungeons and Dragons, you can handle Cyberpunk Red.
Right.
And so much as the Cyberpunk Red edition, I think you have a D&D game under your belt, you can play Cyberpunk Red. If Cyberpunk Red is going to be your first tabletop role-playing game, it really helps to have someone else who knows how to play Cyberpunk Red.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can always, drop your shoulder and get through it, I guess. But that is a little bit hard, I have to admit.
I'll say this about Red: it is without a doubt the most welcoming to new players or players who are just experienced with Dungeons and Dragons. It's much more easy to jump into the pool. It's a much more, I don't want to say comforting environment, but it doesn't have the hard learning curve that like 2020 had.
I think the key there is we lowered the amount of steps in the combat step. You know what I mean? I think if you run 2020 without staged armor, you basically have you can sort of understand. If you ever run that experiment, let me play 2020 without staged armor. You begin to understand where the train that goes to Cyberpunk Red's design philosophy begins.
Yep. Yeah. So
anyway,
so we have one.
Y'all got more questions?
Yeah, we have one more question, but because because I know your time is starting to get short. Before I ask you that last question, do you have any questions for me or Wisdom?
Ooh, I have a. I mean, I asked you guys my question before we did this. I'll ask it to the community in general, though. Does anyone know where to find an English translation of the Japanese 2020 fan magazine for Cyberpunk Red? Sorry, for Cyberpunk 2020, called Cryo Tank. CRYO Tank.
Yeah, and that was so. He asked us this question before we started streaming, and you know the only.
I mean, I consider
before
I
it
consider
even
myself
started.
the world's.
Yes, if Derek doesn't know, then no
Yeah,
one knows.
I've never heard of this thing before, and I'm completely flabbergasted and embarrassed. I mean, I consider myself one of the world's leading lore masters about Cyberpunk, and I got no idea. I'd never heard of it before.
So there you are, man.
All right.
You stumped us from a question.
If anybody knows, please send word to our Talsorian Games' email account. You'll find it on our Twitter.
Also to wisdom000@gmail.com. Yeah.
Well, Wisdom, you got a few contacts you can probably follow up with. Is Nightflare still around, or is he like?
Paul Romine, he's still around.
And Gary, Ashford.
Tulsa 2020 still up. I've got Gary on my Facebook friends list, but unfortunately, Mockeries is down, and it's been down for quite a while.
I know.
But man, I don't like. Yeah, no, I don't have any Japanese player contacts. That's always been actually a little bit weird. I've got people from Poland, I've got people from South Africa, I've got people from all over the place, but I had no idea.
Yeah, I've answered some questions for Japanese fans through their translator, but I mean Japanese internet is so okay. So you guys are both big TRPG people. Yeah. Japanese TRPGs are inherently different than Western ones. By the way, the table talk style of TRPG, fascinating. Check it out.
Really?
There are a bunch of games that come out in Japan that never get translated to English.
I don't know if any that have been translated. I mean, we still haven't gotten a copy of. I don't think even Lodos has been translated. And that's the one that most Americans know about more than any other, per se.
I mean, there's the Mechton Gundam stuff that's in Japanese only.
I have not seen. I did not know there was Japanese only Mechton books. That's new to me.
Yep.
But granted, I'm a Cyberpunk player, so while I'm aware of Mechton through the R. Talsorian, I mean, I've got all the books, but it was never something I actively ran or followed.
You know, we really gotta say, I appreciate how you're buying books you don't even read from us, man.
I mean, I read them. I read them. They weren't a game that I played because I was playing Cyberpunk.
Again, James, remember, we are completionists, so.
Yeah. Okay. Woo.
I mean, the one anime property from R. Talsorian that I bought that I love with all my heart to this day is the Bubblegum Crisis source books.
Oh man, those are so cool.
Those. I cannot. One, it's my favorite anime of all time. Two, so
it's a great anime.
It's in fact what got me into Cyberpunk is I saw the anime and I was like, this lets me play that.
Mm-hmm. Y'all fans of the edgerunners, I'm assuming.
Oh,
Edgerunners anime.
Uh,
Oh my god, it's
yeah,
so good.
I am definitely a fan. I definitely want to see more. Although I would honestly, I would prefer to see other studios' takes on it because they're a little bit over the top for me.
Whew. I'm fine as long as I get more, man.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no. Like the dream
I'll take
is there. Like since 1990, I've been all like, man, it would be cool to see this in anime form. Never thinking it was ever going to happen, and then it fucking happened, and I don't know what to do with myself anymore.
Ooh, it's good.
It's very good. I love the
one thing that I love to talk about from that, and it's a selfish thing to talk about. So I understand we're all selfish beings, aren't we?
absolutely.
We just must all understand our true nature.
What is it? The character main was modeled after you?
No. They actually lowered the size of my muscles for the character main just to keep him just together on screen, just so all of them could be on screen at the same time.
I figured that.
No, it's that the drug that I created for the Jumpstart kit got referenced in the bonus music video for the ending credits.
Okay, yeah.
That's awesome.
Securacine is a Biotechnica drug I invented for the Jumpstart kit, and that's the like evil pharmaceutical plans that the late previous Netrunner finds in the ending music video.
Okay.
That's very cool.
That is cool.
I
had no idea that you were the one responsible for that drug.
It's sold. It is remade by the Yellow Brick Gang in one of the Poser, of course, the Wizard of Oz Poser Gang. In the Jumpstart kit, if you look at the it's based on an early prototype of Securacine, which is supposed to be like a bespoke protection against airborne toxins. That's sort of for high-end clients.
Cool.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that part's cool.
So, if we don't get you in trouble with your girlfriend, we have one last question, and I think we can wrap this up.
She of course is yet to text me.
Oh.
But that was, so you got one more.
That's always a green light in my book. If my wife's not texting me, that's a green light. All right. So our last question: do you have any like fun stories you'd like to share about working with Altosaurian and the Pondsmiths?
Oh. That's a wide question.
It is.
I just
That's why it was for
so much fun. The last time we went to Poland, we just had so much fun then. And I remember I got lost for a little bit, and it was just really fun being lost with Cody. We were looking at all these like they have all these like Baltic amber tourist trap things, and they always put them into like they always like put them together in these like little ships. They'll do little model ships that are all made of amber, and they'll put them in the front, and that's great. And you're like, wow, that's the biggest Baltic amber ship I've seen. And then you walk down the street and there's a bigger one.
That sounds pretty fun.
So we were just scooting around looking for the bigger Baltic amber stuff. And, it's Europe, so everything's castle. And every town has an old quarter where the castle used to be. And you can walk across the castle walls. And I guess all of that made me just really nostalgic for reading the UK, the UK 2020 book.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Rough guide to
the UK, and then
because you see like
Eurosource
castle,
Plus, and
it's a beautiful what should be a beautiful historical artifact, and there are people tagging it. I don't know.
There's a
In the United
Starbucks
States,
next door, and
right, there's a Starbucks next door with next to a castle wall that's tagged with like somebody's name that I can barely read. It's in squiggly.
Bunch of graffiti over.
That's a
all
technical term. It's so crazy. Coming from the American perspective, where like we don't have any castles.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Hearst Castle. I've been to Hearst Castle in California, but we don't have any castles created by like people that needed castles.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
anyway,
like
that I think that's one of my best memories.
Cool.
That doesn't involve me talking about process that I probably can't talk about.
Right. That's cool.
Well, we always go out to eat every night when we're doing those things. It's great. It's like a big family.
All right. So I guess that's it. We'll let you go. We really appreciate your time, James.
Thanks for having me on.
We definitely.
It's been fantastic talking to you, Mr. Hutt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have at least one copy of Crowd Tank. I'll snap through with my phone.
That would
find it in the office.
That would be beautiful. I would love to see that.
Throw it on the scanner, man.
I don't want to hurt the spine.
Oh, true.
Yeah. We have I have very much enjoyed this chance to talk to you. We look forward to hopefully getting to talk to Mike or Lisa, if you could throw in a good word for us.
I don't have those channels.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we're working on that. Our Fixer street deal is still low, but
yeah, you gotta talk to Jay Gray.
Yeah, we
do. We poke at him all the time about it.
We're working.
We're trying to come up with a good bribe.
Fair enough. Good luck.
But yeah, thank you so much for showing up today.
Thanks for having me.
Anything else you want to pitch before we end it?
Just keep on looking at RTL Soaring Games' website for those free DLCs, and join my newsletter at jameshuttgames.com.
Awesome.
That's it. That's it for me.
Cool.
Well, feel free to come back and hang out with us anytime.
Most definitely.
And
maybe if you can find me Cryotank.
We will do our best. I know that now Wisdom knows that it exists. I think he's on a.
Now I have a. Yeah. Oh man.
Enjoy going on. What, Nico, looking for it.
It's every avenue until I'm successful.
Good luck.
All right. So, thank you everyone for listening in. I am Cybersmily. You can find me on cybersmily.net, where I have a few apps for Cyberpunk 2020 and Cyberpunk Red. I also have I go on tons of Discord servers and Reddit. Not a big fan of Facebook or Twitter, so don't expect to see me lurking about there. So you can find me there. Wisdom?
I am Wisdom 000. You can find my works at Datafortress2020.com. I am on Facebook. I'm also tend to lurk around Reddit. You can catch me on Discord. Please, anyone who has any comments, questions, or complaints, let us know through any of those sources, and we will try to address those on our show. We'd like to thank Rob Mulligan and Cybernation Uncensored for hosting us. Once again, we'd like to thank James Hutt of Artosaurian Games for being our guest this evening.
Yep.
And we look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be doing a review of Rough Guide to the UK to follow up on our Euro tour, as it were. All right.
Indeed.
Talk to you guys then.
Bye-bye.
Cybernation Uncensored.